Do we have? Do we want to pull up the format?
Yeah. So, how do I switch? No, and how do I? Oh, it's already showing that. Excellent.
Okay, so I think we actually got it. Yeah. All right. Cool.
Just give them the one.
Fine.
Sorry, I should start that up first. We might have to log out of this.
I'll just go to his.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Can you,
Um,
I can probably, just.
Okay, we're just going to pull up our thing. We forgot to do it before we started the video, but it won't be too long. Hold on. Patience is a virtue, or something like that.
Luckily, it's not there, so we can speed it up.
True.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's something that is true.
By now. Otherwise, it's wasting a lot of his time. And you know,
It's like midnight right now or something.
Oh, you made it on.
Is it like exactly 12 hours?
No, it's 11:45. It's 11:45. He
There?
said, yeah, he said he's 11 hours and 45 minutes ahead.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It's a weird 15, yeah.
So we can,
I guess I'll just
your slides are first. So.
yeah. I guess I'll just signal you if I want you to.
Gotcha.
You guys are sick.
Yeah.
All right. Google Slides
Ooh, design patterns by us. Yeah, and us is Caleb and Sean.
Okay.
Next slide. So I did the proxy pattern, and the proxy pattern is basically creating a proxy object for a real object, and that real object is usually a resource of some kind. So in essence, proxy becomes a wrapper or some sort of interface for the actual resource or object. So it meshes well with a lot of other design patterns. I'm not sure if anyone did the mediator pattern, where all of the different objects conform to the same interface, kind of unified code readability and also just usage. And so that's, I guess, an example of proxy kind of rolled into another design pattern. And the other design pattern we did, command, also works well with the proxy pattern, and I'll let Sean explain that. And the purpose for using a proxy instead of the real object is because you need some extra functionality that the real object just cannot provide. And you'll try and implement it behind the scenes so that even if you're calling the same exact methods that you expect the real object to have, the proxy object will simply forward that to the real object while providing extra functionality or something along those lines. So this is basically a simple class diagram of proxy design patterns. You have a proxy which has the real object in it, and here is actually forwarding its method invocation of operation to the real resource and invoking the operation method of the real resource. And this is the client that is calling on the proxy to do whatever operation it wants. So it's really pretty simple. It's in essence a wrapper. And here are the most common usage scenarios. So a remote proxy, where basically the method invocation is forwarded, like I just said. There's a couple of usages for that, like the virtual proxy, where there's a massive resource and you don't want to load it all into memory to save resources. So you only load it when the proxy object is called, and then the proxy object will actually call the real object. And there's also the protection proxy, which is what I did for my example on my project, and it's basically controlling access to the real object via the proxy. And the extra functionality that's added there is basically checking the access rights of the client that's accessing the real object through the proxy. That's about it for proxy.
Okay, so like you said, we did proxy and command. They both work pretty well together. Whereas proxy is kind of making something that you go through. Command's very, very similar to that, but it kind of takes the kind of control away from the real object. So you have an interface, like in Java, because we both started our projects in Java and then translated each other's in C++. I created an interface that works as kind of like the go-between between the invoker classes and the receiver classes. All of the stuff, so it has, as I said, a receiver and an implementation. So you'll have something that calls the real object has, my example had two functions, and I just had, okay, it goes through this. There's a class that kind of, okay, I want to do these two functions in this other class, so I'm going to call the interface, and then the interface kind of has children classes that inherit the functionality of the interface, but only take care of one of the functions in the real object. That's what mine really was. So you had like I called it like control, and then there's like I used a skateboard for example, so it's like start moving and then stop moving as an example, and both of those guys inherited from control. So then this is just a picture off of the Wikipedia page because it shows really, really well. Like I said, you have something right here that has a command you want to do, so it goes to the interface and it has the thing, and so it goes to has some command that it wants to execute. It'll run this command, but it'll inside the execute, it'll run wherever the original object's function was, and then it receives it as such. You can see the process there. You have an invoker, goes to the command, and then it goes to the receiver and actually finishes something. It's pretty simple. Yeah, that was all I had to say.
Yeah.
Do you want to show them code?
Yeah. It's like
Let me grab my
GitHub book.
I'm sure we do have.
I'm worried about going over any particular time limit. I'd have to sign it.
That's hard. That's hard. It's not shooting.
Oh, that's right.
Because I created that.
Yeah.
You guys are all collaborating. Yeah. Okay. So this is our guy. Okay, cool.
Yep. So proxy pattern wise, we started off with Java in both of them and then translated to C++. So for instance, in Java, there was the resource interface, and that was extremely simple, display data. That was all the resource had to do. Resource implemented the display data function, and had, some protected data that it would then display. Afterwards, then the proxy resource would provide the extra functionality in terms of what access level was allowed, and then display the data based on the access level that was set for the proxy resource. It's protected by default so that only the smallest amount of data is displayed by the resource unless specified otherwise. So that's an example of protection via proxy. And then, yeah, do you want to show that?
Sure.
Java or C++?
Either one or both of them.
Yeah.
So you can show command with my interface, and literally it's just 2 lines. You have a command that does nothing, pretty much, and then it's just a public interface command. So, and if you go to skateboard, which was the object, you just have 2 functions, and all I have to do is just maybe print the screen, but you just take off and cover it, and then these guys are the ones that implement command. So it's really exactly that. It's super simple.
Very simple, straightforward.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah. it's really, it's a good pattern.
All right, thank you guys.
All right.